Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to There Came an Echo. Last time around, we had a a reveal that was completely out of left field, and I was mostly in shocked silence through it. But I don't know what awaits us right now. We're at a conspicuous screen here where we've just gotten through a large and revealing cutscene, and now it's asking me for loadouts. So we'll see what happens here. Resume. All right, and I think I will keep everybody with the loadouts that I have them with because I'm sort of used to it by now. So let's see if this works. Move out. Move out. There we go. It wasn't working too well before.
What the hell?
Fire at will!
Val, you there?
Yeah, Sam and I can help you from here.
That omnipotent bitch. She took everything from me. Radiolog, the money from Ferric, everything. But hey, I get a nice consolation prize. You.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Just doing my part
My
to
thoughts
save the world,
exactly.
kid. If killing Naya did the trick once, I'm happy to do it again.
You are not touching my wife.
Every person on the planet is going to die. You should have volunteered to kill her yourself.
How ironic that the atheist is most afraid of God.
This isn't some fool's drug-induced vision, Grace. This is the truth.
Oh, that's funny. They all say stuff like that.
Sorry about this, kid. All units open fire.
Oh boy. Car and switch to charge.
Got it!
Naya switch to screw.
She has an infinite number of these guys to throw at you. Iris says you can shut them down at these 3 points. Here, here, and here.
Let's go, Sam.
Car and move to Alpha 4. Grace
Squad
move
2,
to Alpha
open
7.
fire.
Yeah.
Squad 4, open fire.
Naya and Syl move to Alpha 4.
Sure.
Too hot for me, Sam.
Grace retreat.
One more off the field.
Car and
Wasn't much
recharge.
trouble there.
Syl switch to charge. Grace move to Alpha 4.
Too hot for me, Sam.
Grace recharge.
I'm in some trouble here, Sam.
Wasn't much trouble there.
Syl recharge. Everyone move to Bravo 1.
You're a little loud, Sam. They might have trouble understanding you.
Everyone move to Bravo 1.
Now keep it up.
Everyone move to Bravo 1.
Sure.
Everyone move to Bravo 8.
Unit AB7, advance to Charlie 6.
Detonate mine 4.
That's how you do it.
Everyone move to Charlie
I'll
1.
take this one. You three cover me.
Got it.
Be careful. I don't know what's happening.
Kai?
Naya, stay back!
No,
Okay.
Kai! Val, do something!
I can't. I don't know how.
Iris, you bitch! Bring him back!
Naya, get it together. They're coming.
Kai's dead, but we're still here. I need to finish the job. I'm sorry, Naya.
You're not. But you sure as hell will be.
Sam!
Everyone move to Bravo 3. Car and recharge.
This is my last one.
Yeah, I see that. Everyone move to Bravo 1.
Nailed him.
Everyone move to Alpha 1. Everyone move to Alpha 1.
Okay. Nailed him.
Naya recharge.
Okay.
Everyone move to Alpha 6. Everyone move to Alpha 6. Everyone move to Alpha 6.
Unit AJ-1, advance. Focus fire on Corin.
No problem.
Everyone... Oh, never mind.
It's gonna happen again. Grace, Naya, you stay back.
You men and your chivalry. Naya?
Oh! Grace!
Miranda? Are you listening? You lying, murdering bitch. You're not walking away from this alive.
Neither are you, Grace.
Fine with me. Corin, Naya, get it done.
Grace! God damn it. Iris.
One more. Go!
Everyone move to Alpha 2. Naya switch to pistol.
Okay.
Everyone move to Delta 2.
Got it.
Naya recharge.
I think this is my last one.
Everyone move to Delta 8. Everyone move to Delta 8.
Okay.
Squad 3, focus fire on Naya.
Detonate mine 8.
Naya, please. I can't let you...
Shut up, Corin. Kai's gone, and you've got a better chance of beating Miranda than I do.
Naya.
I disagree.
Finish it. I don't know what Iris wants to see, but we can't show her if we're both dead.
I know.
See ya.
Corin, I did what I had to do.
The hell you did.
If there was any chance of convincing Iris, I had to take it. I had to. I'm doing the right thing. I'm trying to protect people. Oh, screw this.
We're here. We're down to fist fighting now. Don't stand on the edge, Karin.
We're alive?
She brought us back.
I hope we answered your questions.
You did.
So what's it gonna be?
My decision has not changed. Your simulation, at immediate risk of exceeding set boundaries, must end.
I don't accept that. Corin's right. Running the simulation in the first place would be counterproductive.
Why are we here, Iris?
What do you want from us?
You are familiar with your second law of thermodynamics, that we tend toward disorder, that the universe will eventually die. One could argue, with a certain perspective, that nothing could possibly have meaning in the face of this impending void. We ourselves have struggled with our fate. No matter our accomplishments, no matter our grandeur, it must all one day come toppling down.
Gods suffer existential crises too.
Many of us conceded to entropy and simply sleep, never to wake. Others ignore the problem entirely. But I believe there is meaning even still. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Intelligence, the bright spark, is precious beyond all other things.
So you wanted to make more of it?
Yes, and far more efficient to do so in worlds of binary, where I could set certain initial conditions, where I could guide life smoothly to self-awareness.
We're what you wanted, right? So let us go.
I do not have complete autonomy. As I mentioned, only a few share my ideals. The rest of my civilization imposes these limits, and I must obey them.
We died because you sent us straight into Miranda's gun sights. Just wanted a little send-off entertainment?
You've all been consistently spectacular examples of creatures worth saving. You have a passion that our civilization has lost. Your neural circuitry is captivating. But some humans, motivated by greed and ignorance, can be very far less deserving. I didn't need to test you. I needed to test someone else.
Miranda.
Indeed. She had killed her only friend, and she regretted it more than you could possibly know. I had ripped her recently acquired wealth from her, making that very act meaningless. And, most devastating of all, her ironclad belief that there was no intelligence guiding her universe was utterly shattered by my recent appearance. And despite this, despite all that had happened to her, she fought to do what she thought was right. She fought to save her fellow humans from the abyss. You should thank her. She changed my mind.
So, does that mean...
The regulation, at some cost, can be bent. I cannot continue the simulation, but I can continue those inside it.
What?
You're talking about neural construction. What Mir did to me.
I am. For every one of the 7.443 billion human beings alive at this very instant, I'll bring all of you out of this universe into mine. I'll find you a planet, a solar system. Humanity will live on.
That's not a solution. We'll all still die. Those are just copies of us.
The mysteries of consciousness are not yet fully unlocked, Grace, even to me. You may be correct, but consider that you have already died once. I simply copied your data to this location. Are you the same Grace who died 11 minutes prior?
I'm the same, right?
It doesn't much matter, Grace. Iris, thank you.
You're welcome, Kai. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry.
Me too.
This is it, huh? Been a wild ride.
Yeah. Hey, sorry for everything, Corin.
Nothing to apologize for. Thank you, Val.
Hey, what about Sam?
I'll ensure Sam gets a chance at life. Somewhere else. In some other world.
Sounds good.
Naya, are you...
We're together, Kai. That's all I care about.
Yeah. Always.
See you on the other side, everyone.
Care to do the honors, Sam?
End simulation. Okay, everybody, and that is that. These are, believe it or not, the end credits that you're watching here. I have gone through and actually muted it because it is a series of very loud noises punctuated by very soft-spoken people. And they do drag on for quite some time. And I wanted to be able to, as I normally do during the credits, talk to you guys about what I thought about the game. I'm actually doing a post-recording of this because there was no way in heck I could have recorded my voice while this was playing in the background. It was just not it was just not going to happen. It was very, very loud in my ear, in my headphones, and honestly, very, very distracting. You'll know what I mean if you look at the two guys up in the extreme background over on the right-hand side. I have never seen two guys preen themselves so much as those two guys do during the course of this video. I suspect lots of alcohol and possibly other things were involved in the making of this video. Anywho, what about the game itself? What did I think? What do I think of the Arcanum Echo? So I'll talk about the story first a little bit, and then we'll talk about the mechanics a bit. So the game itself was about roughly 4 hours it took me. I failed on 3 different occasions. Once on the last mission. In fact, all the occasions I failed on were the last 3 missions, pretty much in the game. Those were the ones that I failed on, which is a good indication that the difficulty was correct for me. The curve was what it should have been. But I'm getting into gameplay mechanics. Let's talk about the story first. What did I think about the story? I think being a big sci-fi geek like myself, I really enjoyed the concepts behind it. They're all concepts that have been well trodden upon in other sci-fi. I mean, there's a little bit of the Matrix in there, a lot of sort of the transhumanism stuff. So if you're into like the cyberpunk / Deus Ex kind of thing, a world, those were most definitely present. I think the game sort of, the story had me up until the first part of the story was very good. I was completely into it. I was very, very in tune with what was going on. And when they made the big reveal of Syl being basically grown grown as an adult, and his mind was the combination of just simulated experiences and all that stuff, that was terrific to me. I was completely on board with that. What happened was right after we capture Naya, we recover Naya, and weird glitches start happening in the Matrix, you know what I mean? Which was, they had me up to there, and then all of a sudden it just went completely off the rails. Just completely off the rails. Suddenly we were, everything we know is a computer simulation, and then you bring a religion into it with the idea of gods, these aliens that were actually the ones that created everything that we know. The entire universe is simulated, so on and so forth. Still a good concept, but completely out of left field. Like, there was no indication that was going to happen. And I feel like I went from reading one short story to a completely different one in that process. I don't feel like there was a good jump that happened between those two concepts. I spent most of episode 4, the ending of episode 4, just kind of in a shocked state. Like, well, how did we jump from one little, group of people to suddenly, universe is simulated? I think that jump was a little bit too steep. I think that you might have been able to get there at some point. Probably not in this game. It probably would have taken another game to do it. But given as short a game as it was, it kind of made sense from that perspective that they wanted to just wrap up the threads, I suppose. But it was very interesting. It was a very interesting jump. I wasn't entirely put off by it, but it was very sudden and very kind of mind-boggling a little bit too. That said, the one thing that I think they really did well with the story, it's something that they took, even though they took a lot of the sci-fi tropes that are out there, about the Matrix and simulations and genetic modifications, all that stuff. They did one thing that I thought was really interesting, in that they broke the normal pattern that you're accustomed to as someone who's reading or watching a television show, right? They start out following Karin, and then slowly he gathers a group around him, and throughout it, you've got the sort of, he's sort of taking the protagonist role, right? Because we come in thinking, oh, he's the first person we see. He seems to be the only one that's kind of relatively normal, although everything's relative. And it seems like he's going to be the hero of the story. And we're conditioned to know that, because that's basically how most stories go, right? The first person that's introduced is usually almost always the actual hero of the story. What I thought was interesting was that they took Miranda, who was the antagonist throughout the entire thing and continued to be antagonist all the way to the end, and actually ended up making her the actual hero of this story. She's the one that actually ultimately, even though she kills her best friend and she then proceeds to kill every last member of the team, she ends up in so doing that, in so demonstrating that to Iris, she actually ends up saving the entire human race from being deleted. So that I thought was an interesting little twist, and I think that was the one that was the redeeming thing to the story, right? The story was really good, and then it went off the rails, and then that was the redeeming thing that sort of brought it back to me, and I thought, okay, that was a good thing, that a good introduction that happened. That said, apparently, they say this during this credit sequence, but apparently this is There Came an Echo is a sequel to their original game, or to their first game, I should say, which is called Sequence. It's a game that I never played because it was one of those rhythm games with a little bit of a twist, which is that you had 3 different rhythm games that you were playing in one. I don't have any rhythm. Probably not any soul either. So I usually stay away from the rhythm games because I cannot do them. I cannot handle them. So unfortunately, you won't see me playing Sequence. But apparently that there's a couple characters in there that get carried over from that game into this game. So that's very cool. In fact, they even carried over the voice actors and actresses from that game into this one. So that's another little note there. So that's kind of what I thought about the story. It was overall, I would say it was a competent sci-fi story that was ultimately rushed at the very end there. And if they had say doubled the length of the game from 4 hours to 8 hours, it probably would have been a little bit smoother transition, possibly. I couldn't say that for sure because it really depends on the skill of the writer, as always. So how about the gameplay mechanics? Obviously the big nugget, the thing that is really enticing about this game is the voice controls. And if I issued, say, 200 voice commands during the course of the game, I would say, I know for a fact I only had to repeat myself. Well, I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing I only repeated myself about 12 times maybe. And if I issued like 200 commands, which I don't know if I did or not, that's a pretty darn good ratio there. I mean, that's really good. It helps that they focused entirely on the English language, because that cuts the number of phonemes that they have to maintain and track down to a relative minimum. And their vocabulary was also a relative minimum, even though you could customize every command, or pretty much every command. It still was such a small vocabulary that the game had to care about, that it all those things combined to increase the accuracy of it, and it works. It was really, really good. If there's one improvement I would say there is that possibly adding a little bit more of a list function, if you will, where it's like, hey, Karin, I want you to, Karin, perform the following, and then you give a list of things like, switch to screw gun, do this, do that, do this. And then you'd have to give some kind of ending. So I don't know if it would be and do this. That would say, that's the end of your list, or if you'd have to say end or something like that. I think that would have made it a little bit more natural in speaking, because you're still reminded as you're playing that you're talking to a computer, right? Because you have to just issue it one command, take a breath, issue it another command, take a breath. Now they did, in their vocabulary, they did manage to make it less clunky by allowing you to say, specify multiple characters, or say everyone, or something like that, or giving the mark commands. So in that sense, I'd say that was a home run. I'd say that the voice controls were solid and competent, and I think that's really, that's the big crutch of the game. If the game like this didn't get that right, then it would be it would be a really terrible game. But it did get all that, I think, correct. If I were to take out my wish list and say, well, what would make this game be something that you could that would have more life to it? Because right now, as it stands, it's a linear game. You're done in 4 hours. There's no real reason for me to go back to it. There is that war room that you see on the main menu, but that is just literally a training ground. That's nothing else. If there's one thing on the wish list I could have, is that multiplayer. If they had managed to put like even 1v1 multiplayer in there with the voice commands, I think that would be fantastic. The game would be, flying off the shelves, I would say. Just with that nugget. Even if they had just said, you know what, screw it, we're not going to do the story, we're just going to do a multiplayer thing that's an arena thing like this. You select a map, everything's voice commands, no story to the game, no single player. Even that, I think, would probably fly off the shelves, because that would be just fantastic. So all that said, the UI was a bit clunky in places. Trying to move around the map, it was very slow. You had to move the cursor to the extreme edges of the world. You couldn't zoom out far enough. I felt like even though you could zoom out, it wasn't enough to actually see anything, in my opinion. Now, I did not utilize the voice commands of zoom to this or zoom to that. That probably would have helped a little bit, except I didn't know what waypoints were actually out there, right? Until you actually zoom around the map once, right? Like, I don't know, is there a Foxtrot 1 on this map? I have no idea. Are there enough points? I have no idea. So, unless you're flying blind, unless you've already seen the map, unless you've already played the game, it's hard to use some of those zoom to commands. But that kind of made for some really weird and awkward stuff, right? Because I feel like all the times that I failed were due to me not being able to see the map, or not being able to keep in touch with what's going on very easily. The other thing about the game is that there are, thankfully I didn't talk through too many of them, but there were a lot of loading screens, a lot of them. I mean, to steal a phrase from another YouTuber by the name of BOO, can I get a background job in here? Get a background job. I mean, seriously, it's like you would sit through a cutscene that might be, 5 to 10 minutes long, followed by a loading screen, followed by another 5 to 10 minute long cutscene. It's you're pushing it at that point, right? I mean, I understand that it's all rendered in engine, and I'm okay with it being rendered in engine, but like, load some of those maps in the background or something. As the developer, a transition is going to happen because it's a linear game. There's nothing that I can do to stop that transition from happening as the player, right? So like, do yourself a favor and get rid of some of those loading screens. It was pretty ridiculous. I might, as a little side thing, show you how the sausage is made here, and actually show off the my Vegas, what my recording looks like in Vegas, because you'll see nothing but constant cuts as I try to cut out all the loading screens, and it looks like Swiss cheese. It's amazing. But yeah, that kind of ruined a little bit of it too, because you're really into the story, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there for a loading screen. Some of those loading screens were actually on for quite some time too. So it felt like there was a little bit of clunkiness here and there along the way. But other than that, I feel like it worked well. I like that in some of the cutscenes there was a little bit of interaction, kind of a vocal QTE, if you will. I like how they introduced the mechanics. I like the beginning of the sort of training thing where you don't have to go through a training room. You don't have to go through the war room. You can just actually play the game and get the story. And as you're getting the story, you learn things, learn how to do things. I really like that. But other than that, it's a very short game. Is it worth the amount of money that they're asking for on Steam? I would have to say, if you are into sci-fi and you don't mind a ton of memes and tropes, and you don't mind the fact that most of the characters are not lovable, but they are hilarious, then yes, it's probably worth the money. If you really don't like things that go kind of off the rails from time to time, you're probably not going to like it. It's probably not worth your money. It is, as I said, very short. I feel like I wish there was more to the game than what there actually was. I feel like I spent most of the time just kind of sitting here waiting and not participating, other than listening. And I felt like, even though all the maps were unique and different, I feel like they could have gone even a few more directions than what they actually did. So hopefully, maybe, we'll see someone else revisit this and see, indie devs are nothing if not communicative with one another. So maybe we'll see another indie game come along that takes this concept and makes either makes it multiplayer or does one better than what we've seen in here in There Came an Echo. Not that what There Came an Echo did wasn't good; it was very good. I feel like I got my money's worth out of it. But to each their own, and I think that will do it for my commentary on here and my long form review. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next video.